Scott Chadley from the Liberty Baptist Church, Bible Church, to come up and say the opening prayer, and I'll lead the allegiance after we start.
We'll pray together. Our Father in heaven, you're so good to us. Thank you for your mercy and love. We're thankful that you loved us and sent your Son to be our Savior. We're grateful that we can have forgiveness of sins and the promise of eternal life through him. We thank you especially this week of Thanksgiving. Please help us to orient our hearts to you and to our family and friends. Please help us to find our satisfaction in you, because your commandments are so good and delightful to us. We pray that you'd give wisdom, discretion, caution, great prudence, and great patience also in this meeting tonight. We thank you for the men and women who have devoted themselves to serve the public. We pray that that would be the truth this evening. We pray that you would help also in the transition of various offices that have a change of persons through the election recently. We pray that you'd be very gracious. We pray that you'd give peace to this county. We pray that there'd be great joy also and hope in the Lord Jesus Christ. We again are so thankful that you love us and you are for us, and please help us to be for you. We pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Scott. We really appreciate it. All right, right now, citizens' address. If anybody has anything they want to say.
I have 4 items that I would like to address to the court. I'm not sure if you want to, if you'd like to do each one individually, or if you'd like to hear all 4 of them at once. What would your preference be? Any preference?
Go ahead and do one for.
Okay, so the first item I wanted to talk about is this administration has had a commitment to transparency, and as a citizen I am truly thankful for that activity. And I do, as many of you know, look at the meetings. I looked at past meetings. I've FOIA'd several documents, and I do really like the privilege to be able to look at past information as well as participate in these meetings. One of the things that I really like to have some more visibility to is that in each meeting you all vote on the transfer of funds or the drawdown of funds from the general funds, the road funds, and the jail funds. And it occurred to me a couple weeks ago, I wasn't here the last meeting, occurred to me that we in the community have no visibility to the items that you're actually voting on for those transfer funds. So I would request for you to please consider providing that visibility to the community regarding the items that you're voting on when you vote on the transfer of funds, the drawdown of funds from those accounts. The second item I wanted to address is in the last meeting that I participated in, there was a claim that was brought to the county for paying a bill for light bulbs, for replacing light bulbs at the jail, based upon work that didn't appear to be accompanied with any purchase order. And our attorney here, Joe, took an action item to review the legitimacy of that claim to see if it was in fact a valid contract which we would be obligated to make payment against. So what I would like to know is what were the findings from that assessment. Secondly, I would like to know if that bill has been paid, and if it has been paid, under what authority the bill had been paid. The third item I wanted to talk about is the report from the Department of Justice. I did read the report, and actually I went on their website and I read the initial case that was brought against Grant County many years ago, before this administration took office. I read the case study and the findings, And I do understand that the prior administration settled out of court and signed a written agreement in 2009. And I believe in that written agreement are the items that the Department of Justice has been monitoring and reporting our progress or against over these many, many years. And I think in the last meeting that I attended, we talked briefly about the most recent report and all the items that they were finding against us. And my concern is this. We as Grant County signed an agreement in 2009, and I would like to know if that agreement is binding and if there's any latent legal action that they could take against us if we do not comply, because consistently we have not since 2009 complied with the terms of the agreement, Joe. And so my concern as a resident of the county is what liability do we have if we don't take action? I would like to know if this fiscal court has a plan to take action. Last November, after the prior DOJ report came out, we signed apparently a letter with a plan to take action that was cited in the most current report, and apparently we didn't do progress to what DOJ is looking for. And I do understand that we do have limited funds, and perhaps some of their findings are overbearing or overarching. But it would seem to me that a good start would be that we actually start managing the contracts that we have left, that we are paying for medical services to be administered at the jail. And that would show good faith effort if we would actually start managing the services that we are paying for, while we as a fiscal court, as a community, start working on a plan so that we can hopefully ensure as we move forward, we can maybe start showing some good faith effort to the Department of Justice. I really would hate for them to, if they could call us out on this after all these years, lose their patience with us. It would really be a shame for the jail to have to be closed, because we still do have a large debt to pay, and I think financially it would be worse than keeping the jail open. We should try to set up the new administration and the jailer-elect for a successful new coming year. And if we can show DOJ a plan, even though we may have done so in the past, we can show them a plan and really move forward, I think that would be really good. I think the start of the plan was the refurbishment that this administration did when you first took office, or shortly after you all took office. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we need to, in my opinion, really take this pretty serious. And again, I would defer to Joe as far as the legal liability that we may have from the settlement that we made in August of 2009. But I would really like to know what the commitment is to putting a task force together to come up with some kind of move forward plan. And the fourth item I would like to talk about is the 109 board. I would like to know if there is any reporting that the 109 board provides that provides accountability of their activity as compared to the rental of the skid equipment, the skid loader equipment that is being rented to conduct the activity at the 109 board. I really think that there should be, given the circumstances, there should be checks and balances, and I would like to know if you have them reporting to you any accountability of the rental of equipment and the activity that's been completed by the 109 board, perhaps maybe on a monthly basis. So those are the four items.
Well, okay, right away, I'll do the last one first. I'll let anybody jump in that wants to. The 109 board meets on Saturdays. Is it the first Saturday of the month? Third Saturday of the month. It's very transparent. I mean, you can come to the meetings, and you know, he gives me reports and everything, but the 109 board is actually a pretty strong board. They can do about what they want. You want to say anything about that?
Well, as far as the accountability goes, there are photographs that are taken before and after every time the Bobcat goes out there to demonstrate that the shreds are at the bottom of the shredder and there's tires sitting there waiting to be processed. And then the end of the day, when everything's cleaned up, another picture's taken at that point in time.
Okay, the first one was about transparency of the transfers. And our magistrates and myself, we had a little confusion with it at first, but it has to be done, and wherever we transfer money, it's in the same departments. And if like you're about $200 short of paying him to go to a conference, and you go to another item and transfer it over to it. It's not really a big deal, but we do that. Now, do you want to say something about that, since you're more involved in that?
Well, generally what I do on Fridays is I go through the bills and I look at everything that I'm going to have to post, okay, to my ledger. If by some chance one of those line items, let's just use for instance, vehicle repairs.
Yeah, I think that.
And I have bills that total $3,000. And I only have $1,500 left in that line item. And let's say that's the sheriff's line item. So I would call Brian Maines ideally, and I would say, Brian, what line item do you want me to make a transfer from so that we can pay for these vehicle repairs? And he might say, well, take it out of uniforms. We have extra money in uniforms. I don't think we're going to have to spend all that. So then I would put a transfer, I would put that on a piece of paper that we were going to transfer $2,500 from uniforms to vehicle repairs. And then I present that to the magistrates at this meeting. And then hopefully they approve it so we can pay our bills. And that's kind of how that works. Now, the larger transfers, which you might be referring to as from the general fund to the jail fund, the county treasurer prepares those. She looks at those bills so she knows how much we have to pay out in bills. And she sort of has to estimate what she thinks the payroll is going to be.
Right.
And so sometimes she asks for transfers that don't really need to be made because perhaps we'll get our check from the state that goes into the bank, and so we don't even have to ask for a transfer. But sometimes we do. And she gives the best estimate that she can as to how much we might need to transfer from the general fund to the jail fund to meet payroll and to pay the bills.
The jail, the state is always late on their payment on the jail, always late. He knows that. And it kind of puts us in a spot, and she has to kind of guess. So it's a little loosey-goosey, but everything's accounted for. We write everything down, and we surely share it with the magistrates and the court and Joe. And I'm hoping that's not going to be a problem for anybody in the audience. What was the second point?
Steve, if I could add, I was thinking possibly where she was going with this, I'm not sure, from a transparency standpoint, just seeking the visibility for funding and monies and such as that. You know, one way that would solve that is that this packet gets posted on the website like other governing bodies do, which may be something that could change in the future. It hasn't been done in this administration. It's something some of us have wanted. But I think what you may be looking for is what is it that they're looking at up front versus what you could have had visibility to, which typically anyone that asks, I always give it, you know, it's open record, so I give it to them. But I think you were, tell me if I'm wrong, probably looking for, could some of this be published or available on the internet?
Or
The county's website.
Right, when you vote on it, you could, you know, the little stuff is fine, but if it's a procurement, a purchase order of something that hasn't necessarily been publicized and it's being paid for through a funds transfer, it would be nice to know what it is that you all are voting in favor of.
I agree with what she's saying.
It would not be paid through a funds transfer, it's paid through a claim. In other words, we do the claim first.
Okay, so.
But I think what she's talking about transparency is when we vote on approving these transfers, that the public needs to be made aware of what and why. And a lot of times we'll vote on it without explaining to the.
That's your job to make sure you're aware of what it is. You're elected to do that
But I'm
job.
saying they want to be
More
informed about what we're transferring them items and what
The public wants to know what you guys are looking at.
Right,
That's what it is. What are you
Right.
guys talking about when you're talking about this, that, and the other, so.
yeah.
Well, they eventually do, but it's usually after the fact. It's after the next meeting when they approve the minutes and we post it on the website.
I think the,
Well, actually,
if
no,
I'm not,
no. What's posted on the website is that you all approved to transfer the funds.
Yes.
What's not posted on the website, for example, is that you approved to pay an overage on a contract for a general transfer of funds, and it's just approved and it's never discussed, and nobody in the audience understands what actually has been transpired. And all I'm asking for is in those instances when there's specifically something that has been discussed in an open forum, that a decision to pay it has been made, that somehow we're made, the information is made available to the public that you've all decided to go ahead and pay that bill.
Well,
and what, I guess what I'm hearing too, I think we question quite a few things.
yes, you
I
do.
really do. And I think the things that we have questioned, we've brought to the surface. So maybe, saying we could do a better job, I think we question everything that's that's been out of line.
What I want to
Like
say,
like the bulb situation, just, you would have not known that if we had not questioned that.
Yeah, right.
the thing I want to say, and I hope you all don't take this wrong, but you have elected these three people to represent you, and me to be the judge, and we try to communicate and know what's going on and everything, but I guess you're trying to build a bit of trust there. But if you have any question about anything, you call one of them or call me. I'll sit down with Peggy and we'll explain everything to you. It's kind of hard to tell where everything's going, in a meeting, you know what I'm saying? There's so much, it's a general thing.
Okay. The next item had to do with the claim that was brought forward to change the light bulbs and the assessment that was going to be made, and where are we with that? It was my other question.
Evidently, there was a lot more work done than just changing light bulbs.
Right.
And Jason Mullins can tell us more about what the details are on that, on exactly what got done. There was a miscommunication. I do not like the fact that I'm being dragged in the direction that we're probably going to end up having to pay it, because I don't like how it was done. But there are certain professionals who can do work without contracts, and the bottom line is the work got done. Now, some of the things that I was checking into on that was that all they did was just change light bulbs? Evidently, they did a lot more detailed stuff than that. Were they really there? Because what we were getting that first night, we didn't know if they were even there. We didn't know if they used our equipment or our supplies and then charged us for them. So there's a number of things that I have tried to get up with Jason on that. What we did determine was that he asked them to give him an estimate for some work that he wanted done in a particular area. Some of his workers showed up, said, we're here to do this work. And they came back day after day after day after day after day for a week and a half. And this isn't what I was concerned about at the beginning, that this was something that might have been done intentionally. I referred at that time to a case where as a jailer was on his way out the door, he ordered up $40,000 worth of cleaning supplies. I thought that was a Bath County case, but I might have the wrong county. In any case, what they found there was that the jailer can't just, it was done out of spite, and the jailer can't just obligate the fiscal court to pay for something that they never agreed to. And if it was that cut and dried, if the outgoing jailer ordered up $50,000 worth of cleaning supplies, take them back. It would be that simple. The difference here is there was work that was done. There were a week and a half worth of opportunities for somebody to step up and say, hey, this was never approved. He only asked about it, it didn't get approved.
There's No PO given?
No PO and so forth, but I've had this discussion with Keiko, and the bottom line is the work got done. Now, what I was still concerned about at that point, and part of the way that you handle that is you don't ever do business with that contractor again.
Right. I agree with that.
He's just shot himself in the foot. He's just ruined himself. Now, I'm sorry, I won't be here, so I can't help enforce that. But as far as I'm concerned, if you've got somebody that's going to intentionally come in there and do work that they were not authorized for and take advantage of the county, you need to be taking a look at that before you decide if you ever want to get on the phone with them and ask for another estimate. Part of my main concern, though, was that we were hearing that possibly they were using our own supplies and charging us for them. Jason was able to get up with Jimmy Shanks at the jail, verify that's not what happened. The stuff that they put in, they produced themselves. So although the bill is woefully inadequate on how they listed what they used, it looks like it's probably accurate. We haven't made a final decision on that. I'll let the magistrates know, but as I said, as much as it irks me, I'm probably going to end up recommending that we pay it.
And just so you know, it has not appeared on our bills to be approved.
I have
was
not
wondering
worked up
if
a
it was in
claim.
the funds transfer
No, ma'am.
today.
No, and I have not worked up the claim.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I appreciate the assessment.
The jail report. I said the jail report.
The jail report. So I'm a little concerned. You know, I did go to their website, and they do have our case posted. And I pulled the case, and I read the case, I read the findings, and do understand that there was a settlement that was predated this administration. And I'm not a lawyer, Joe, but I'm wondering, as a citizen, is this a binding contract that we all collectively are, do we have to do anything for this?
This thing got started in 2003. What was done in 2009, well, first off, let me say that as far as what we are bound by, I think you asked that question earlier.
That's a good question.
When it comes to, number one, if we're going to have a jail, we have to provide a constitutional level of care.
Yes.
And if we're going to have them, we got to take care of them. That's the bottom line. There's a difference of opinion on what we need to do in order to provide that care. I think I used the example before that, no, we don't really need to hire a full-time psychiatrist at $300,000 or $400,000 a year to live at the jail. That's ridiculous. But in their reports, quite often they refer to national standards that I refer to as national standards of the association of people who know how to run your jail better than you do. We're not bound by those national standards because they're national standards. What we are bound by is a constitutional level of care. We are bound by the U.S. Constitution, the Kentucky Constitution, the Department of Corrections, who we deal with, and we are bound by the agreements that we made in that 2009 agreement, which mostly says we are agreeing that we're going to continue to provide X level of care and that we're going to continue to try to improve on that. Now, what we've been able to do over the years is convince the DOJ, and I think rightfully so, that we were trying to make steps in that direction. We're trying to provide the care that we're supposed to. At the same time, we can't print money. They do that in Washington, so we can't just do anything that they want. Things need to be within our means up to a certain point. Now, the problem is, if the Department of Justice gets the impression that we are no longer interested in trying to do the right thing, then they're going to decide what they want to do about it.
My concern.
I think I used the analogy when I asked the medical vendor to come up here from Georgia and to talk to us about consent decrees. That's not what this is. This is not a consent decree. And if we were to be sued in U.S. District Court, then we would mount a vigorous defense and argue that we're not bound by all of those standards. Now, we're still going to have to address it appropriately. We have worked well with DOJ. Granted, it's been a pain, but they've been very amicable when they deal with us. They don't cuss us. They don't tell us we're a bunch of idiots. They are professional when they come here. They make some good suggestions. Some of their suggestions I don't agree with. I think one of the examples was, at one point, they wanted basically everyone tested for tuberculosis. From what the medical vendors tell me, if you test everyone for TB, and you have people that come in time and time again, somehow that builds up into their system to where, yeah, they're gonna start testing positive for it just because they've been tested so many times. Now, I'm not a medical person, I don't know how that works. But that would be one of my examples, is that there's certain things that they recommend that are just ludicrous.
I do
Now-
understand that, but this was a truly eye-opening report from each read.
Well,
We should make sure that we have a plan so that the inmates have a bed,
don't,
a mattress to sleep on, a pillow, basic human needs. We should be responsible to make sure that those things are met. And I do think that we should enforce the contract we have with the medical contractor. Make them do their work that they're hired to do. We're already paying for it. And if they don't, hire somebody else.
and
And
as I said, I'm not trying to
some of that
minimize,
may help.
I'm not trying to say that we don't need to do what they want to do just because we don't like it. But we need to do what is in reason.
Yeah.
What I referred to the night that we had that presentation was just because they're polite doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to cause us a world of grief. If we were to be sued and taken to the U.S. District Court, if there was a consent decree, that's what I wanted them to let the fiscal court know that evening, was how burdensome that can be. And then you're gonna get answers from a U.S. district judge that, I don't care if you got a nice little 1.5% payroll tax. If you have to bump it up to 4 to pay for this, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna bump it up to 4 or else.
That's right.
So we need to be able to show that we're working with them. And I don't know exactly where that is. There's not a bright line. There's not a switch that you flip
Right.
when you get to a certain point, but they can tell whether we are cooperating with them or not. And I think if they get the impression that we're just not going to cooperate and we don't care what they think, we're going to regret it.
Yeah. So that leads me to my ask is, and I would hope that there's some type of plan that y'all are putting together, or you're thinking on it, or you're gonna do something. It would be a shame to go back with a letter, another letter like we did last November, and then maybe not do anything between the letter and the next time they come out. At some point in time, they might lose their patience with us.
Well, first of all, you got a new judge coming in, and you got 2 of the managers that have been before, and you got a new jailer who I think is going to do an excellent job, and I think they'll work together more closely. But really, in all honesty, the jailer runs the jail. We try to help financially, but the jailer has to implement that program.
I beg to differ. The contracts are the contracts that the fiscal court has. You sign the contract with the medical people. You sign the contract with the food services people. You sign the contract for all the facilities maintenance and management, not the jailer. Okay? So somebody has to.
We're not over to jail to, how do you expect us to do that?
Well, somebody needs to be making sure that these contracts are managed and facilitated somehow. And maybe there's a hole in how we're organized. I don't know the answer. I just observe that we have contracts that may not be being efficiently managed. And we don't have a lot of money. You're absolutely right. We can't go out and do everything on their wish list. But there should be, hopefully, a way that we can take some steps forward in working with what we do have to work with, which are fully funded contracts that you have in place right now.
And Diane, I think that's fair, and I think I said that when I initially read the most recent DOJ report, that I felt like we had, what I thought had done was make progress with improving some of the contracts, but it didn't seem as if or on the surface, it appeared that we were getting what we were paying for, as far as accountability and checks and balances. And to Steve's point, I think sometimes it's difficult sitting up here to oversee that when you're not there on a daily basis. But I do think that there, and hopefully will be a better partnership with accountability as to the operations of that facility, because the jailer does bring forth those contracts to the governing body to sign, but I feel like it's more of a partnership with, you know, helping approve things financially, but the boots on the ground that are there on a daily basis, in my opinion, should be the ones helping to oversee that we're getting what we're paying for.
Well, I think we basically are. We may miss a few things, but you gotta remember, what we're getting right now, we're paying over $600,000 for it. And if we would take the other bid, it was over $1 million.
Yeah. Well, and even,
And then it comes back to money.
but, and Steve, even to that point, the very quick analysis that I've done, this administration has spent on average over $200,000 more a year on medical at that facility over the past 4 years, and that's just on average. But
Yeah,
yet
you
when
gotta
you
remember,
read
we
that,
had more prisoners too.
well, that was even when they kept a full house over there, but yet when you look at that report, it doesn't look like we've attempted to do much. But I think, you know, when the new medical agency came in, they weren't there very long when DOJ came to review. And so I remain optimistic if that's who Mr. Webster wants to keep on board, or if he revisits that there does need to be some checks and balances. And I'm sure that those folks will be in a very much different light when there's new administration there, because I can't attest if they're being oversaw or not, but it seems as if how that report read, there were many loose ends that you would have thought when you read the initial contract that would have been addressed as far as medical, some of it.
Okay, can we move on now? Oh, excuse me, Dave.
Can I comment on this? Number one, the state and the feds have procedures that must be followed in operating that detention center over there. And when somebody says they suggest or recommend, that doesn't hold any water at all. It's got to be must or shall. All of their procedures are must and shall. And it behooves us as a community, Grant County, that we have that entity over there and there is no oversight. Yes, the jailer is in charge of it, but the court is the CEO or the overseer of that. They can't hire, they can't give raises and all that stuff unless you all approve it. I mean, all of that is brought before the court. Now, the previous court left all that to them over there, and they ran it in the ground. And they didn't update that jail and take care of it the way it should. But I think the jail has to have procedures, written procedures, and somebody from the state has to approve those. And then the court should have once a month a group of citizens go over there to do an audit. Are
Don't
we
you guys already
doing
have
what
that?
we say we have
Don't
written?
you guys already got
Yeah.
a committee that does that?
Well,
We have a committee.
I know, but you have to do an audit, and everybody that works over there has to be accountable. I don't want, as a citizen, I don't want some outsider coming in, even if it's a Department of Justice, coming into our house and saying, you're not doing what you said you're doing. We need to know ourselves that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing over there. That's the most important thing of all, is to make sure that when we have in writing, we're saying we're going to do this, this, and this, and some of it's mandated by must and shall, then doggone it, we better be doing it. And nobody can find fault with you if you're doing it. All these suggestions and recommendations, hey, put it in writing and put a must and a shall, and then tell us who's going to pay for it. And that's the law. And I don't care if they want to try to intimidate you, all you have to do is say, let me see where it says must and shall, and we'll follow it.
Okay.
I mean, that's...
Okey-doke. Okay, approval of minutes.
Having read the minutes, I make a motion we approve as presented.
I will second.
Okay, call the roll, Pat.
That's Chacon,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
That's Riley,
Yes.
and Judge Wood.
Yes. Motion carries. present for review and a motion to approve the claims drawn on the general fund, road fund, and jail fund dated November 19th, along with the transfers as presented.
I do have a question on one of the claims. I know it's a very minimal claim, but I do question it. On the diesel for the Bobcat, it's up under the general fund, is that,
General fund, what page?
we are on page
That's Grant County
3.
Oil.
Yes, for 4479, and then
Yes.
4005.
We pay to put the diesel in the Bobcat.
For
To do-
what
For the
Bobcat?
tar
For
shredder.
what Bobcat?
For the tar shredding.
Seriously?
We're obligated to pay for the gas in it?
You always were, even if you rented one, you had to put fuel in before you took it back to the person that you rented it from. It's the exact same as we've always been. You rent from Arch, you fill it up with fuel before you take it back, or they charge you about $5 a gallon to fill it when you're there.
So it got filled up twice then, or did that exceed the credit card limit or something? Because for
2 different days.
the dates on here are the exact same.
Well, that's because the claims were done on the same
Okay.
day. The POs and the diesel was not
So it was
purchased.
rented.
It wasn't
it was
purchased
two-
on the same day.
It's the last time we had approved it, it was rented 2 days.
You know, you said we've always did it,
I've
but
don't.
we've not,
I don't
this
recall.
court has never saw,
It was probably included in Arch Rentals' bill with the rental of the Bobcat.
I think that this kind of goes back to Diane's earlier question from an accountability and transparency standpoint. I think one thing that we're going to have to probably move forward in the next administration, as we have like a monthly animal shelter report, road department report, building inspectors report, I think one thing that will aid in transparency is having, sorry to add more work on your plate, Brian, but a monthly like solid waste report that's submitted, which those could easily be done on iCloud electronically, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize
I think the new
this.
court needs to revisit that contract.
That the fuel, I mean, I know if I would, Brian, you're right, like if any of us went and rented a piece of equipment, when you return it, either they charge, like a rental car, you have to fill it up, or they're gonna charge you X amount per gallon, but I wasn't aware that we had done that.
Well, I was, and unfortunately I was, and we just gotta do it. We
Is
have-
it in the contract that we pay for it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. Did I ever get that contract?
We've not saw it.
Yes, I sent it to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find it right now.
She emailed it shortly after that evening.
It would have been November the 5th.
She's
I've got it.
pulled up.
Is that bill for the total gas you use, or just a fill-up when you went and took it back?
That's his Bobcat.
Say that again.
There's nothing that says in this contract that we're responsible. It
Does
says
it-
the delivery and
Plus
pickup.
county supplies the fuel.
The bill
Let me see what.
is for every ounce of fuel you used, not just a fill-up when you went back, took it back.
While shredding tires. When I take the Bobcat over, it's full on my bill. When I leave the site after working, I stop and fill it up.
It's really no different than like our building inspector filling up his vehicle and Steve using his fuel too for his equipment and everything.
No, anytime you rent a piece of equipment like that from anybody, you have to have it filled up when you return it, or they slam you with an extremely high price for the fuel.
Okay?
I know, this is so, it's so sticky.
Yeah, okay.
If I may, I'd like to read the contract that's been made on the Bobcat. Below is my proposal for renting a Bobcat skid steer loader to the 109 board for the tire shredding project. Equipment rental, daily 8 hours rental including delivery and pickup, $335 plus county supplies the fuel. As with any other rental, this proposal is for rental of the equipment only. Brian Miles is paid his salary as an employee while he is operating the rented equipment. The price for the Bobcat skidder loader will also be extended to the Emergency Management Department. If they so desire, they will need to supply and be responsible for any specialty attachments through rental or purchase. The proposal is for a term of 3 years automatically renewing for successive 3-year terms unless either party notifies the other in writing more than 30 but less than 90 days prior to the term expiration date of the cancellation of the automatic renewal provision. The proposal is limited to a maximum of 1 rental per week for the tire shredding operation on an annualized average, no more than 52 rentals during a calendar year. Miles Christmas Tree Farm is responsible for all maintenance and repairs of the skid steer loader. And it is signed by the 109 board chair.
Okay, thank you for reading that. Okay, all right.
Any other questions?
Huh?
Any other questions?
That was the only thing I was concerned that maybe that was for the road fund. It needed to be transferred over there, but.
You've been enlightened.
It's been
You
a
have been
lag.
enlightened, madam. It is not for road fund. The tax for the other
That's the first time I've seen fuel. Okay, I guess, is 6A a separate order of transfer, or are we including that in this transfer?
No, there's a motion for the big
The second one.
transfer, they're separate.
Okay.
I have a motion.
I present for a motion of approval for the claims drawn this evening on the general fund, road fund, and jail fund dated November 19th, 2018, along with the transfers as presented.
I second.
Okay. Pat, call the roll.
Magistrate Cordon,
Yes.
Magistrate Newman,
Yes.
Magistrate Riley,
Yes.
and Judge Wood.
Yes. About Monday or Tuesday, Peggy came to me, and we've got $1 million just came in from the sheriff. We've got, don't take the 3 to 4 million in the MAC right now, which is really nice. She wanted to go on and put $500,000 in a CD, which make it $1 million. And if we do that, that means we drop the rate to 1%. That's what it says on the contract that Joe proposed and everything, and I don't know what y'all want to do. I don't care what we do. I never was going to be in a rush to drop it too quickly because I know something catastrophic can happen, and I sure don't want this court or the next court to have to go up on the tax rate. That's not going to be fun. But it's up to you guys.
I got a question. I
Okay.
got some questions on it.
Me too.
First of all, why are we proposing the transfer at this time? What's the specific reason?
Peggy,
Okay.
What did Peggy say?
well, we get 2.5% on a CD. 2.5% on $1 million is a pretty good amount of money, like a saving.
Well, I guess what concerns me is that we based a total budget on the receipt of these funds
For this year.
for this year. So if we agree to transfer, we're going to have to turn around and take them back out.
By July.
Well, now, we took it down to 1.5% now.
Yeah, but we did it in the third quarter of the year, and we don't have a cash flow simulation to
If
see.
you want to do the third quarter, just fine with me. I don't have a problem.
I'm just saying that would be to me, a more susceptible time. I understand the 2.5, but also, I understand too that we based this whole budget on using those funds.
Well, let me say something to you. Right now, we're getting 2.6 million a year from that tax. We changed that to 1.5, to 1, excuse me. It's gonna be at 1.6 million. So you're gonna miss $1 million every year. I know we don't want to keep it on forever, but I'll tell you
No,
what.
I don't see how we can afford to take it down right now when we do have catastrophic claims such as almost $1 million that's under, still waiting to be approved from FEMA on various roads. And that doesn't even include Jamison Road. And I think it's very premature to quickly move forward and deposit an additional $500,000 when we're currently in this term with the budget built upon certain funds coming in, let alone the catastrophic claims that are clearly hanging over our head, and we're waiting for acknowledgement from FEMA as to if they will provide any funding. Otherwise, we're gonna have to fix those roads, let alone Jamison Road, and probably even a few other county roads, and it doesn't even include other general maintenance that needs to happen. And I support getting it lowered, but I also think being realistic with what expenditures that are left hanging over our heads for right now.
Well, I don't have a problem with
And
that. I just
Jacqueline,
want-
I agree with everything you're saying, but my take on this is we're a month out from a new administration, and I think that we should not do this and let the new administration,
Okay.
that's
I
my
mean,
take
because
on it.
we did lower it as soon as we could to 1.5, and so, I mean, I don't,
It says in there if we got $1 million.
The trigger is when the money is put
In a
into
CD.
certificate of deposit.
Correct.
So if you choose not to put it into the CD yet, that's your choice.
and there's a $500,000 in the CD.
There's nothing in the ordinance that says you can't
Correct.
wait.
Correct.
The only thing, if we're going to do that, then we're gonna have to take this budget and
And
relieve it of some of
right.
the expenses. Because that's what,
It was built upon.
that's what your budget was built on.
We forecast that money into this,
Well, that's another reason why it's premature right now until at least the next budget, and frankly, until some of these expenditures are taken care of that weren't even predicted in this budget. I mean, no one predicted almost $1 million in road slipping.
Well, see, I kind of thought y'all might want to see the taxpayers' money, because in even your campaigns and everything, y'all kept saying that we need to get down 1% as soon as possible.
You never read that on Jacqueline, sir, so I don't know where you saw or read that.
I think maybe it said something.
No,
I don't care.
no, sir.
No,
I mean, this is
I
just another
agree.
attempt of,
No, I agree, I mean.
it needs to get lowered.
It does need to get lowered, but I think when you've
It's
already
not
built a
right now.
budget around
it's
it,
just not the right time. David?
I'd just like to make a comment when you consider lowering it. I'd like you consider the people in Dry Ridge are already paying 1.25%, and you throw that 1.5% on top. I would like to see you drop those people down first and see how the money is before you go across the county with the dropping to 1%.
Well, that'll be up to the next board.
Well,
Okay, guys, we don't have to really vote, I don't think. I think
that was
y'all,
just my concern with it, is we built the budget.
I understand.
We built a budget on it.
Around it, yes.
I didn't want to drop it from 2 to 1.5. I thought we did that a little bit early last time. But
I
we
thought it was good
That was-
because
that was the
I think
commitment we
at the
made.
time, we didn't anticipate, we didn't know what kind of funds we was gonna get at that time.
That's exactly right.
Right, and then when we seen what funds we had, we dropped it, and then we turned around and built a budget around the 1.5. Like, there's road equipment that needs to be purchased, that hasn't been purchased for years, and we see all
And
this.
you've also got a courthouse that's going to need a lot of repairs.
That's right, absolutely, and I don't want us to be back in the same situation. But I think our goal too is to look at that and try to get that to 1% as a more reasonable rate.
I've had a lot of people come and say, why don't y'all drop that yet? I said, well, it's got to be a
Well,
decision.
we promised, the taxpayers, that we would drop it to 1 and lock it in. That was our goal in the first place. But right now, I think we need to wait till,
But I still think if you look back, we're the first ones that ever put it in to catch up where we felt that it had been neglected if it had been done a long time ago, and I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, so.
I agree with you on that. I wish that if we put a 0.5% in 8 years ago, we wouldn't even have the problem we have right now.
No,
I don't mean to give a bad light on some people,
Yeah,
but
but-
they just didn't, they don't want to raise taxes, let's be honest, they don't want to raise
Yeah, well,
taxes.
and-
Nobody wants to raise taxes.
No one does, you
We
know.
had to vote on that, do we?
No, sir, nobody made a motion.
Okay, nobody's made a motion,
No,
we'll just let it go.
Yeah.
We'll just let it go. That's just fine with me. Okay, I've lost my. Excuse me here a minute, guys. All thanks, show. Okay.
Here, Steve, here.
Oh.
Is that it? No. I don't know what.
Prevent for a motion to stop payment on check 26372 drawn on the general fund and made payable to business card in the amount of $923.29. The credit card holder never received the check and is presumed to be lost. Thank you, John. It's presumed to be lost, so we'll have to pay it next time.
I make a motion to stop payment on check 26372 as presented in item 7 of the agenda.
I will second.
Okay, Pat, call the roll, please.
Magistrate Coldar,
Yes.
Magistrate Newman,
Yes.
Magistrate Riley,
Yes.
and Judge Wood.
Yes, motion carries. Now we've got another present for stop payment check.
No, I'm sorry, that one we deleted off the agenda.
Oh,
Peggy
you
checked
did.
this one, and that check is good.
Yeah, okay, sorry, guys, sorry. Ordinance and resolutions present for a first reading, ordinance number 07-2018-0220, relating to an amendment to the Grant County zoning map for the applicant Robert Schweitzer, along with a notice to run the local paper showing a second reading to be held on December 3rd, 2018. Now we don't know where it is, that's out on Heathen, no, that's out on,
It's on
Heaton Road, it's on Heaton Road.
No, it's on Simpson
Simpson
Ridge.
Ridge.
Simpson Ridge, excuse me, Simpson Ridge. I know where it is, I bet y'all do too, so.
So nothing else needs to be done. That's